So when Ordeal Call 1 was coming out, I was advised to react to the trailer initially and give my earnest thoughts and predictions as to what was going on. Now we've completed Ordeal Call 1, so this video will have Ordeal Call 1 spoilers in it, just FYI. If you're worried about that, turn away now. But I want to go back and I want to look at me reacting to the trailer, and I want to rewatch and re-react to the trailer just to kind of see what I got right and what I got wrong. Because, honest to God, I already know I was way off with some of my predictions. So this should definitely be an interesting one. Let's give it a watch, because again, like I have not watched this basically with you guys yet. I obviously watched it when they premiered it, but again, like I said, people were saying, oh, I should probably like give my earnest reaction to it. So oh yeah, YouTube definitely did a thing. So we basically couldn't play any of the audio from this because of that. That's interesting, because I have at least like some insight from when this came out like 2 years ago. So it's really interesting. Obviously it's quality in the same way that like so many of these trailers obviously are, because I think it's like A1 Pictures that normally deals with most of them, and they've handled a lot of like big projects. Past me makes some good points. So you start out with Duryodhana. Looks like he's surfing on his like baton thing. Yeah, we never really got to see this. This was like, hey, we're gonna put this cool thing in the trailer, but this was like not actually a thing in the Ordeal Call. I'm gonna say, yeah, they kind of get to play loose and fast with stuff like this because it's a trailer and they need to make it seem interesting, but this would have been cool to actually see in the actual trailer thing. I don't even know what it's called at this point. It's like a pole arm or something. It's like a club flying through the air. Apparently a club. You've got the narration going, almost acting like this is all part of the plan there. And it's Sion saying it, which is hilarious. That is Gilderay Saber. So I was right with that, but that's kind of obvious. That's interesting for a couple of reasons. That's interesting for a heck of a lot of reasons, because Duryodhana basically just doesn't fight him, like, at all. Like, this is just not a thing, really, in the entire Ordeal Call. He does fight him in the group, but it's never like, yo, bro, I'm gonna one-on-one duel Gilderay. And it looks like he's fighting. This is actually interesting, because, like, the way this is actually framed out, it reminds me a lot of the Camelot movie and how they had the battle amongst the rubble as well. Yeah, and then you get the masters with the seals. Looks like we've got another set of masters here. I believe I know the name of these people, but I'm not going to say it just for right now. And the name of these people is that they are the AI masters. I knew they were masters summoned into the Holy Grail War. I did not remember that they were AI. And to be fair, I'm not sure that I knew that they were AI ahead of time. But each one has their own set of command seals. This is going to be an interesting one, because I'm going to, like, hypothesize, you know, again, I've played through the stories on JP, but I obviously don't know the actual, like, story behind it. Oh, so boy. I'm going to hypothesize that these are somehow, like, in our way, they're not going to be good and benevolent, other than probably, like, one or two in... Actually, they were all good and benevolent except one. That's funny. That one turned out that way. And to be fair, like, you can't really blame me, because Fate just has this kind of thing where obviously there's always like one or two masters that are amenable. Some are like kind of a gray area, but like, yeah, there's usually a good chunk of masters that are like assholes and out to get you. This one was a really, like, chill Grail War, really, in the same way that the Cryptors were. And it's probably going to very much be an adversarial relationship where they're meant to stop us. And it was not. Like, they were kind of there to stop us, but not in that direct sense. We were actually the, like, anomaly in this one. So it was really cool to see a different Grail War like dynamic in this regard, and that really is we were all just part of an experiment. All right, then we get the faces here. Obviously, the big one that like everyone's immediately gonna pick up on there is that's basically Lev. And everyone's been wondering, oh wait, hold on, how is Lev here? What's going on with that? I thought we dealt with Lev, but the answer is no, we didn't. We actually didn't deal with Lev, and he's kind of been gone throughout all of cosplay. And that I was wrong on. Like this is Lev, but it's not Lev. So I think like I knew about this from JP, but I didn't know who he was. I didn't have the context for it. And that threw me off. So that was actually an interesting one. Every once in a while, sometimes having like half info is definitely a bad thing. This is also why I caution people about like, hey, if you're just like playing through JP and you maybe don't like know, or you think you know, but you have incomplete information, it's usually a good idea not to like go die on that hill and start arguments with people about like lore and stuff. It's like, you probably don't actually know what's going on. It's missing the Lost Belt at this point. I do know people were like really liking the design of the second chick when it first came. Yep, Sarajira. And that one held true, as obviously chat's reactions throughout the entire time in this Ordeal Call was like, oh my god, I love Sarajira. Oh my god, her design is so cool. Wait, Redrop did that? Wow, that's so awesome. You seemingly have a Sakura face here. And then some other interesting ones. Not just a Sakura face, actually Sakura. Yeah, now I think the other interesting thing here too is that, you know, chat kind of agreed that this was basically a Shinji face, and it really was. It looked like a Shinji, it acted like a Shinji, and definitely like metamorphosis into a grandpa Shinji. Thing ones kind of going on, including a seemingly Indian master. And the seeming Indian master is hilarious now in retrospect. That like, I'm surprised I didn't pick up that there was going to be more of a connection there. This particular thing was actually the quote-unquote highlight, and by highlight I mean like this was, out of everything out of the original Ordeal Call 1 trailer when it debuted on JP, this was the thing that upset everybody by far the most. Because yes, this is Ronnie, but this apparently is AI, and people were deeply upset because think back 2 years ago, this is right when like AI really started to like get like it had obviously been popular before this point, but it had been, I'm gonna like cut myself off here. We'll skip through this segment because I spent a lot of time on this, but the point that I'm making is that people were deeply upset that they used AI to generate this. And I did forget that also back then there were people pointing out that, wait, this actually is like devious of them. This actually really does work. So on one hand, people were getting super upset, as like everybody does whenever AI art is involved in something. But on the other hand, like, if there was ever an actual appropriate use for AI art, it is here. It is literally Ronnie, because Ronnie is an AI construct. So using AI to generate the AI construct is actually artistic. It's an artistic choice, and I felt like it really did fit. So looking back at this, yeah, I understand why people are upset, but I just think they're actually in the wrong because they lack context. Looking back at this, I now completely agree with this usage, and I think this is really cool. I'm not saying they should use AI art for everything, but this is actually a really appropriate usage of AI, and it's really, really funny. But yeah, you could definitely see the limitations of the model back then. Also, we did get to see the various different like Ronnie forms here, and it was really curious. I think maybe my only disappointment is that some of the Ronnie forms don't actually look like normal Ronnie in like a various form. They do just look different. Needless to say, that was a like major source of drama about this one. Interesting that we have Lev riding on the back of the horse here with seemingly Prince of Lanling. Yeah, rider. I mean, to be fair, like, it makes sense in retrospect, but not one we would have definitely known off the rip. which is going to be even further interesting. And then there's no escape from the flames of love. Lev was basically just one of the coolest characters in the entire Lost Belt, because not only was he like at times Deus Ex Machina and Chekhov's gun, but he also just literally had a finger gun, and that was just like the coolest thing ever. Is that like bro was like, yeah, no, Omaiwa Moshindaru, I prepped entirely for this moment. You are already dead. And that was actually really, really cool, that entire scene. And then we have Kama coming in here, but specifically this appears to be Archer Kama. And it's really funny because Archer Kama is a thing on arcade, but this is also actually Kama talking now. So the who's narrating has shifted from Sion to Kama, as it is a both younger version and again using the bow here, which is interesting because I believe Kama Mistake, aka on arcade, is this way. So that was another one where people were like, wait, are we gonna get this? And it was like definitely a thing in the sense that Kama really got more exposition here than she did honestly even in like Oku. I actually felt like Kama became a well-rounded character now due to Ordeal Call 1, compared to like Oku, where a lot of your reactions and interactions to Kama are just very surface level. It's back and forth banner, it's sexual innuendos, you don't actually get anywhere about who Kama actually is and what she actually wants. This one we did, and it was actually really, really cool to think about. You got Duryodhana basically just kind of doing the Roy Mustang, snapping his fingers. Yeah, and this one, I gotta be honest, I don't know what they were doing with this, because I know what that explosion is. I know why they're showing it. I don't know why they're making Duryodhana look like he's like I don't know, just flourishing or something here in the face of this explosion, because this is a really like serious and messed up moment in the Ordeal Call, and explosion happening in the background. The compass of the world points to myriad emotions is definitely an interesting line as well. Then we got Bima, and then you got Bima coming in here. He's definitely going to be an interesting character from what I know about him. And then again, another Sakura face right in here. And I'm sure the Sakura fans are definitely loving this, because this is like their dream. It's just a cute like summer picnicky day or spring picnicky day with this was both like Emiya Gohan's slice of life Sakura, and then also like super depressing like typical Sakura, in the sense that like nothing goes her way, everything goes wrong, nothing can go right for her. Like this is both like super awesome and cute, and super sad and depressing with a Sakura face. And then there she is, the SSR from the Foot Tower event coming up after this. She'll be here, but she's not gonna be obviously like rollable yet. You're gonna have to wait for the event after Ordeal Call 1 in order to get her, but that is Medusa Saber. I got nothing else to input on Medusa Saber other than the fact that like she also, like Sakura, just felt like she was in a no-win scenario. She actually like low-key ended up being the key, but it was just purely due to her eye in the end, and that was like really interesting to see. I actually did not like the line about Medusa and her eye being not only unable to affect, that would have been one thing, but also getting reflected back at her. I thought that was actually like really stupid. It's like, I don't care if you're a divine, Medusa's eye is pretty infamously powerful. It's like, you should not just be able to like, oh, I'm just gonna long distance reflect that back at you and like totally mess you up. It felt like, yeah, they showed the strength of that character reflecting it, but it really felt like it was kind of over the top and unnecessary. It was more designed to get Medusa out of the picture than anything else. Event after Ordeal Call 1 in order to get her, but that is Medusa Saber. And frankly, I would have just preferred, instead of using Medusa's eye, to have Medusa there fighting alongside us. Interestingly enough, again, they keep showing the Shinji face, and the whole time when I was like watching this, I was like, man, this kind of looks like Zhao from Genshin Impact. It's just like, I couldn't really think of anything else other than just like, bro just looks kind of weird, and I did not put together that this was a Shinji face. And actually, looking back, he actually gives me a little bit of like Demon Slayer vibes too in that regard. I really don't know who this is, and that's interesting to me because I feel like I should maybe have some idea, but I'm gonna be curious to find out a little bit more about these characters here. And then we can see basically we've got the Sakura face, we've got Medusa protecting her as is, and then honestly, that is Gilderay. Like, you can see it right here in the very first frame. He's got the cross, he's got the big thing, but as it goes on, it becomes harder to distinguish him, and he's clearly like bursting out into some sort of like eldritch monstrosity. And he definitely was an eldritch monstrosity, and he's honestly like I don't hate the character. I don't even hate what they did with the character, but he is the worst character in the Lost Belt in the sense that, like, not Lost Belt, Ordeal Call, in the sense that if Ordeal Call 1 suffers from anything, it is pacing issues. And his arc just drags on way too long, and it feels like we just immediately jump to quote unquote the end of the Grail War, partially because we just figure things out and preempt it. So it feels like the Grail War kind of like barely started getting going, and it felt like there should have been like a secondary threat in the middle there. There were some, but they were relatively minor, and it felt like there needed to be another like big thing before we just jumped right into the end crisis. You get Lan Ling with his again, you know, blood coming down on his mask there. Lev with the finger gun, as is just at this point so like, and that finger gun is definitely one of the cooler scenes. Not that it wasn't the thing before Fate, it definitely was, but it's hilarious to see how many characters in Fate used finger gun. And then looks like the Indian master here screaming at the end. I honest to God, to some degree, I wish they would actually release the English version of these trailers sooner rather than later. I wish, instead of waiting for the live stream and stuff to pump this stuff out, I wish they would actually put it out like a little bit more ahead and let us speculate some on it in the same way that like JP did. Obviously there's going to be people that are going to spoil stuff, but I think like this was actually a fun little experiment, and I'd like to do this a little bit more in the future with some other trailers, because this is really cool to like predict stuff and then see what I could get right and what I was completely off base on. And then Duryodhana coming in to just like doing the pull the full meme as he's coming in swinging and punching. Yep. And then clearly the I don't know what to call her, the star-faced master here. And then Kama. And then young Sion, which is, we already kind of saw this from the preview in the stream. It's like this is a younger version of Sion that we're encountering. So this should be really interesting to see where this story goes. I gotta be honest, like this, I've seen a lot of people criticize and say like, oh, this Ordeal Call didn't really have that much actually to do with alter egos in the grand scheme of things. And I was like, well, in the grand scheme it did, but on the like nuanced like day-to-day interactions it didn't. There was not like a whole lot of alter ego running around, because that was like the hidden plot of this. And in that regard, I don't blame myself necessarily for not picking up on this, but it is interesting to see how they really did like shove a lot of this stuff in your face. And I think for JP, when this trailer came out, they probably had a lot more people sitting down, theory crafting, going like, wait, how do we have a young Sion, a young Kama? We know this is probably dealing something with alter egos. It's like, is this an alter ego of them? Whereas I think that's something where it's like this happened so like bang bang for us on NA that I just never even thought about this. But really cool, really interesting to see now in retrospect. Really interesting to see where this story goes. But yeah, that's the trailer in substance. Like I said, there's a lot of interesting stuff there in that. I'll be curious as we read through it, everything that's gonna happen, but I definitely want to definitely want to experience it and see how it is. So let me know what you guys thought of the Ordeal Call trailer to begin. Yeah, so like definitely there were a couple of things I got wrong there. There were a couple of things I got right too. I think the one I can't forgive myself for is like being just completely off base, like at the beginning here with the Masters. I should have maybe like predicted this a little bit better. Particularly Lev. Lev is the one that was like, oh my god, I didn't even consider that as a possibility. So it's definitely a thing, but yeah, we will definitely have to do more of these like react and then re-react trailers to this sort of thing, because I love it. I think it's great. I think it's an awesome way of being able to like see, you know, how I was thinking beforehand and how I'm thinking now after the fact. I really did like Ordeal Call 1. I told people in chat after I finished, I gave it like basically like an 8 out of 10. It was still a really good story. The only thing it really suffered from was pacing issues, and at least to a degree I was okay with it from the standpoint that I did not mind that we did something different, that it was kind of a broken open Grail War, and that like it didn't resolve as naturally as most other Grail Wars would. So I thought it was actually an interesting like change to the formula, and admittedly I think the pacing issues kind of dissolved for me towards the end, as a lot of the story was just really well written towards the end. You got a lot of closure, a lot of payoff, a lot of really cool moments, and even that epilogue, they really felt like they did a lot more there with it. So let me know what you guys think about Ordeal Call 1. I'm gonna say keep the spoilers to this video if you can, but definitely a really interesting one for me, and I'm certainly curious to see how the next Ordeal Call comes, even though it's basically not until next year. So again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about this type of video, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Hey, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, right?